All right, I'm going to change direction here today, and we're going to talk about, we're going to kind of go in and do some processes on what we're doing. So I want to go look at processing school purchase orders for Washington County School District. Now, I say Washington County School District because recently there has been an audit done on Washington County School District that caused some feathers to be ruffled and some fear to be passed down. And I will go on public record, because this is going to go out on YouTube, and say that the people who are in the decision-making positions at the Washington County School District failed in what happened through the process of this audit. Audits are done in order to, yes, fix the problems and identify where the problems are. But they're also done in order for you to learn what the right processes are, in order to train people, to make people better, stronger, make the system smoother, in order for everybody to be successful later on. What ended up happening was, as near as I can tell, and this is from a very, very outside perspective, but as near as I can tell, some of those people in those decision-making powers had a decision to make when the audit was almost done. Not done yet, because nobody has started pointing fingers yet, but almost to the point where there's people going to the state auditors who are going to start pointing fingers. The people in the district had one of two decisions to make. Decision number one was, or it could have been, eating a bunch of humble pie, saying, we saw some of these things, we knew some of these things were there, we didn't know how to fix them, or we chose not to fix them, hoping that they would self-correct, and obviously they didn't. And boy, we really screwed up. Hey, everybody, all purchasing agents, all principals, all teachers, here's what we did, here's why it was wrong, here's what we've learned, here's what the process is. We need to get back on the process and really run that. Any questions? All right, go team, let's get this done. That would have been the right choice. Instead, what happened was they wanted to take attention off themselves, and so they pulled out the bamboo rod, and like little North Korean psychos, they started beating everybody within stick's reach, and blaming everybody and threatening everybody's job if they didn't run the system. Boy, that created a lot of hurt feelings. Scared teachers, scared purchasing agents, lots of people quit their jobs over it. It was very, very poorly managed, in my opinion. And that's, again, from my outside perspective. What I want to do is I want to go over our process, because we deal heavily with the school districts. I want to go over our process, how it works, what my intentions are for how it works, and how that works inside of the normal school purchase order system. Keeping in mind that our system and our teachers have the need to work outside of the normal system. The reason being is when there's paper out there and the paper is being used in the photocopier, it's coming down and eventually hits the red line. And when it hits the red line, we start the purchase order process. We start the requisition, we get bids on paper. Meanwhile, the paper is still being used and still going down, right? And eventually the purchase order gets approved, we order the paper shows up right before the paper runs out, we drop paper in, voila, no big deal. Nobody hurt, nobody lost anything, the machines were still running. On our sense, the machines break. It's that trumpet, it's that saxophone, it's that cello. That's on a 1-to-1 ratio, one instrument to one kid. Now, when that one kid doesn't have an instrument today in class, everybody else has noisemakers, and they're simply a distraction, and they're not learning. And the teacher needs that back immediately. So oftentimes we fix it for them and get it back for them so that that student is learning and the system and classroom management is under control. And we deal with how we broke the system any way that we can. Now, I want to talk about what the system actually is, how it's supposed to work, how it's supposed to flow from our side, and how it fits in. And then I'll show you in the same process how we break that. Make sense? All right, let's go after this. Our process is when we create a quote, it eventually flows to an order, which eventually flows to an invoice, right? Another way that we can do this is we can create an SRO, which either goes straight to an invoice, or we need an order off of that SRO because we needed a part. That comes back to the SRO and goes to the invoice. That all make sense? That clear for everybody? when we do quotes for people, so Washington County School District quote, we've got these several different items on it. We add the customer's name. Typically, the school that they're working for is the name that we add, and then the teacher's name comes in underneath that. Like for Washington County School District is Robert Schmidt, so we add that information in. And then we add the items separated by placeholder. Right? There's an item, a product in the system called placeholder that we put in, and this comes up as a product code that says next item, and we change that to trumpet. It'll say placeholder for quote is what the description is. We change it to trumpet. That way we can break up the quote. Here's the trumpets, here's the violins, here's the guitars that are all on this quote for this person in order for it to be easy to see. The other thing we do is we change the quantities to zeros. That way, again, it helps break things up, although I failed to do that on guitar, didn't I? And you can see how, you can see the break here. Here's 2 trumpets, here's 2 violins. I don't know, what's guitar, but you can see how it breaks things up a little bit easier, okay? The other thing then that we do on quotes is we ensure that the school prices are selected. Typically, this happens automatically by customer type. When we choose a school, almost always it's set for school bid price, so those prices come up automatically. Sometimes they don't. So spot check it. Every time you see the green arrows over there by the sell price, if you click on that, it'll pull up the box that has retail, rental rate, map price, and school bid price all in there. Make sure those are chosen correctly. Come on, computer. There we go. Again, we're going to choose the right teacher. Inside of this, there's the school district, and then we click the down arrow that's underneath the school name. And we can choose the right teacher specific to the department. That way, when these quotes are going out, or more than that, even when it goes to invoice, and the purchasing secretaries are trying to assign what account it goes to, they have a better idea of it. That makes sense? Also, notice on quotes, there's no PO listed yet here. All right, in the top right-hand corner, the customer's name, there's no PO listed because it's just a quote. That's coming. In the bottom left-hand corner of the quote is the status. Right now, when you first do a quote, it says none. We are starting to change that to follow up on, so we know. In the quote status we have when Kelton's making requests and Kaylin's doing quotes for me, there's another status in there that says, hey, this needs to be looked at before set. That way I see them and I can get them out. Or Kelton can see them and he can get them out. And then once we do that, we flip it over to needs follow-up. That was showing up for us to say, hey, we need to be working on these. Then what we do is we email the quote. On the bottom of the quote, there's a button that says email. We click that button, it creates an email. It should pull over the teacher's name automatically, like Robert Schmitz. And then we have signatures in our email system specifically for quotes. So we choose the email signature for quote new, and that will add the vernacular and the verbiage that we want at the bottom of the quote email to go out to people. It's pretty easy, straightforward. Here is the text that's on there. Attached is a quote on products or services from the music store. This is only a quote. If you would like to order these products or services, please send payment or purchase order information to me. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. Best regards, blah, blah, blah. And this is the quote new signature that's in there. If you don't have that, let me know. We'll throw it in your email system. It's no big deal. What we're doing right here is in this, we are asking for a purchase order. So when the quotes go out, we are asking for their system to be started. The school system requires that they ask for quotes, which is in their vernacular requisitions, and they will turn those requisitions into a purchase order. All right. So that's what we're asking for, and we're asking for it once there. When the PO is received, so when they actually give us that PO number back and say, I want to buy this, we open the quote and we enter the PO number in the top right-hand corner where it says PO. All right. Then once it's in there, we click order or invoice depending on what we need. If we have the items in stock, so if they're asking for, I don't know, this base right here, we will just take it straight to invoice because we know it's here. There's no reason to do the order for it. So click invoice if all the items are in stock. Click order if we need to bring the things in. That makes sense? All right. There are multiple ways to get to this point. So now we're at the order. But I prefer taking all the items from the over to the order and then modifying them to match what's on the PO. Okay, so if we've got all these items on the quote and they're ordering 3 of them, 3 of the 5, I prefer taking everything over to the order. And then from on the order, I'm going to make the modifications in the order itself. That way I can see the historicals. I can see what's in the quote. So if I modify the quote, we don't know what we quoted to them until we go into the email history. But this way I can still see the quote. We can see what we suggested to them. Then on the order, we can see exactly what was ordered. Does that make sense? And the other way you could do that is you could go into the quote and delete items and then take that to an order. You can also select certain items and say order and say, do you want to order just the selected items, and say yes. So there's several different ways you can get to this point, but I want to get into where we end up doing the modifications at the order point, not on the quote. That make sense? All right. You'll notice then in the bottom left-hand corner under status that you'll, or under linked, sorry, not status, there's status and linked. If you click on linked, you'll be able to see the quote that it came from. All right, so you can see that whole history on there. And that's part of our workflow. When the teacher asks us to order or deliver product that, what am I saying here? When a teacher asks us to order or deliver product, they will not have their requisition or PO process complete yet. All right, that's almost always true. They will not have the paperwork done yet. That's okay by me. What we can do is we can take it over to an order, and then we're going to email the teacher that, hey, we've received your order request, and at this point, we're going to email the purchasing secretary. Whoever that purchasing agent or finance agent is, we've got them in Lightspeed. We're going to email it to both of them. Because our job is to help communicate to the teachers. I'm sorry, that's not said correctly. Our job is to help the teachers with their system, with Washington County's system on how do we get things through, which means we need to communicate with the purchasing agents. All right, so we simply push the button and add their email address to it. No big deal. Anytime an order is emailed without a PO associated, put the department and the director in the place of the PO, and then pending as you see it here. So in other words, right here, we don't have a PO yet. Let's assume that we don't have a PO when we do this order. Every time we go to an order, we have something in that PO line. And so this, I know we have the teacher's name associated in here, but we also have pending saying, hey, we understand the process, we know where it is, but this is coming from this teacher in this department. So let's say it was going to Desert Hills. It would be pending Mike Winslow band. That way that purchasing agent knows where we've taken all the guesswork out. They don't have to waste time tracking down teachers and figure things out. We already know that information. We just need to communicate that information for them. That makes sense? That's easy to do. So anytime we're at an order, there is something in that PO line. All right. Then we cannot communicate these things enough. Once we have it over to an order, again, we click the email button, we send it over, and there is an email signature that says orders, new order. All right, and that again is going to the teacher and the purchasing agent. Here's the vernacular on that. Thank you very much for the order from the Muse Store. I appreciate your business very much. Attached is a copy of your order. Please look it over and double check for accuracy. If there are any issues, simply reply and let me know. If a PO is needed for purchase, send me a copy of the PO or the PO number to this email address. Do not pay off this order. An invoice will be sent to you shortly. Thank you. All right, so again, we're saying this is not the invoice. Don't pay off this, but what do I need? I need a PO. So there it is. We're asking for the PO number yet again in this process. So this is the second time in the process that we've asked for the PO. Okay? So second time. This is one of the major differences between Washington County. Washington County has now come to the point where they are refusing to pay unless we've got this process taken care of. And I get that, totally get that. I'm not faulting them at all. That's their system. Lots of other school districts that we work with will simply deal with this. They'll take care of it. All right, they don't necessarily need to have the PO in front of the invoice. They should by the rules, but they are willing to work with it. They're willing to work with it. Our process is still the same no matter what school district we're working with. I want to make sure that we're asking for the PO multiple times, that we're giving them ample time to do so, but we still operate at our speed, not theirs. Okay. Again, 90% of the time, we will not have to ask again for the PO. It will be sent. We will ask again before orders from Washington are placed with the vendors. This process is done by me to ensure that we get paid for any product that's brought into school. All right. Let's do a reality check here. These are all true statements. Not everyone involved in the arts does their paperwork exactly correctly. The more you're around band, orchestra, and guitar teachers, the more you understand that this is true. Okay? It's not that they're bad. It's not that they're faulty. It's not that they have shortcomings. It's that they're not wired for it. They think differently. That's perfectly okay. That's why they have us. All right? Now, the other fact here is that this drives most purchasing agents nuts. But again, it's not a purchasing agent's fault. They want to be a purchasing agent if they're the right brand, artistic, creative, musical person. They are wired to do what they do, which is keep things organized. And when you're dealing with a bag full of squirrels, that can be tough, really tough. So our job is to make both of them happy, the teacher and the purchasing agent. And as long as we run our system the way it's designed, everybody will be. All right? Yeah. For Washington County, a PO is received before items will be ordered. Any invoice, invoices any item leaving the store. So anytime something actually goes out the store, it has to be on an invoice. It cannot leave the store if it's on an order. We will lose it. All right. If it's walking out the door of this store, it's on an invoice. Whether it's for a school or for a customer, it doesn't matter. It's on an invoice. Okay. There's one exception to that, and that's schlep orders. That's a whole other conversation, though, for another time. If it's going out the door, it has that. Now, I've had to become a little bit of a stickler that we don't invoice stuff to Washington County unless I've got that PO. I just can't. All right.
So if we don't have the PO and it needs to go out, we can't take it out unless it has.
Yeah.
Okay. For Washington County specifically.
For Washington County specifically. Almost everybody else we're okay with, but for Washington specifically, that's where we're at still. Now, does that mean we sit around and wait? No, it means you pick up the phone call. You pick up the phone, you call the person agent, say, I've got this in my hand. It needs to come out. It needs to come out yesterday. You got a number for me?
So when it's the invoice specifically, like the paperwork is labeled Washington County School District, or if it's a school within the district?
Anybody operating inside of Washington County. So if it's going out to a specific school, and that doesn't matter, high school, junior high, intermediate, elementary, doesn't matter. Rules apply. Okay. All right. Then what we do is we click on invoice from the order and we take it over to an invoice. Okay. So this is the third document. So quote, order, invoice. Now we're finally to that point. We save the invoice and enter the serial numbers where they're needed. So if it's an item that needs a serial number like this ETR 420, we'll enter the serial number, and then that triangle appears for it so we can see what the actual serial numbers were on it. We ensure that the PO is listed on the invoice up in that top right-hand corner, and we email a copy of the invoice to the director and to the purchasing agent. We print one for the product then. Okay, so the product's going to have an invoice. One gets emailed out to both the purchasing agent and to the director so that they know it's coming. Okay. Anytime product is taken out of the store, it's on an invoice. I'm going to reiterate this. This means that some orders will have multiple invoices associated with them. In other words, we order 7 products. 3 of them show up today. We have a PO for it. We're going to invoice those 3 items off that order and take it out. Great. Next time, one of the items showed up. Great. Invoice that bad boy, get it out to the school. And then the balance of the stuff shows up. Fine. Invoice those and send it out. Which means when you look in that linked section on the order, there will be multiple invoices on that. Fine. No big deal. Purchasing agents are smart. They can figure it out. We're pretty smart too. We can figure it out. Now, sometimes if it does happen where the invoice is created prior to the PO, all right, so like outside of our school district, outside of Washington County School District, if we are invoicing something before the PO happens, and the purchasing agent calls up and says, I can't have this. I've got to have an invoice afterwards. Great. We're pretty smart. All it takes is clicking return this return thing, re-invoice it, send it out again. It's no big deal. It's really simple. We know where the inventory is. We know where it belongs. They need paperwork dated in a specific way. Give it to them.
Could you just modify the date?
No. The reason I don't want to do that is it creates a loop inside of QuickBooks that I don't really want to catch. So yes, we could, but we started doing that back in 2011 and 12 and quite a bit in 13 before we really caught on to why isn't this reconciling? And that's why. So no, that would, darn it, it would be so easy if we could. But no, we'd have to do the return, apply it. And so I know it's crazy, right? Close, but no cigar. When you send an invoice, the payment section will be left empty, all right? So there's no payment taken on this stuff yet. That's okay. It shows up in accounts receivable at that point. All right, so we're back into this. We've gone quotes to orders, orders to invoices, or SROs to orders, back to SROs, up to invoices. And we've got, under linked, you can see the invoice and the quote from the order. You can see it both ways. If you're in the invoice, you're only going to see the order. You won't see the quote that it pulls. It doesn't pull clear through. It'll only pull ones that are directly attached on the side of it. That makes sense? All right. The status screen then will show paid if they've actually paid it, or it will show owing if they still owe us money for it. Okay, pretty simple. When we're going to email it, it's really simple. You simply click on email, and you're going to send it to the director. You're going to send it to the purchasing agent. When those come up, you'll end up with both people listed in there to get that out. Now, whose job is it to get them the invoices? Is it the teacher's job or ours? Them. Whose job is it to get the invoice to the purchasing agent? The teacher or ours? It's ours. Washington County School District system says it's the teacher's job. I disagree with that. If we want to get paid, we give the invoice to the right person. If you give an invoice to a squirrel, is it going to get to the purchasing agent? No, it's probably going to get eaten by one of the students. And so that's why our job is to circumvent that and get it to the purchasing agent. All right. So we facilitate, the teachers teach, and we're there to support that. All right. Accounts receivable then. When we look at accounts receivable, this is how it shows up. So Washington County School District has these invoices. Now, it's possible that several of these invoices are attached to the same order. Doesn't matter. When people owe us, it's in accounts receivable. When we owe them, it's called accounts payable. All right. When somebody needs a copy of their statement, great. You come into the accounts receivable tool, you click on email statement, it will generate one and send it out to them right away. It's no big deal. This is working off of core value number 1, guys. Deliver more than we promise. All right. If we can run this system and keep it clean, keep it tight, and just work the system, work it all. This is so far all inside of Lightspeed. Things work, and everybody is happier. All right. Teachers are happier. Purchasing agents have what they need. Their job's easier. They're happier. Great. All right. The other side of this is if we are building these relationships, build them. All it takes is clicking some buttons. It's not difficult. I know we're right-brain artistic people ourselves. Doesn't matter. We get to click some buttons and get some of this stuff taken care of. We've had several schools that their purchasing agent tells the teacher, why don't you do business here instead of somewhere else because of this. Because we know how to do invoicing, because we know how to get them the paperwork that they need and make it easy for the purchasing agents. The purchasing agents have actually gone to the teachers. They've been on our side and gone to the teacher and say, why don't you just buy over here at the music store? That's because we're building those relationships. All right. And the last one is continually evaluate tasks to ensure self and customer satisfaction. If it's easy for us, and really, is this easy? It's quite simple, guys. It's not that hard. And it's so much better for the customer, and they become more satisfied. These are all core values that we're hitting here right now. All right. Building and nurturing long-term lasting relationships with every person at every single school. Teachers, students, purchasing agents, the registrars, the principals. We need to be friends with everybody.